I'm making this video with the hope that I am extremely wrong here, and in a few weeks we can all look back and point and laugh at how off I was. Like, I want this video to age horribly, but with my hand on a stack of Bibles, I don't think it will. One Punch Man Season 3 has started, 2 episodes are out, the second one just aired, and you can probably still see my eyes are a bit red from the tears that I shed watching it and rubbing them away. Not because I witnessed peak, but because I witnessed pee. Actual waste. One Punch Man is one of my favorite property. I've watched it weekly since season 1, and it's one of the very few anime that actually got me interested in reading the manga. I've talked about this before, but I typically don't read manga of property that already has an anime adaptation because I'd rather not know what's coming. I'd rather it be a surprise. Even though I typically don't mind if I get spoilers or whatever, because for me it's more about the journey than the destination. But still, I prefer to be surprised when it happens, oohing and awing and kicking my little legs in my chair when there's a big plot twist or something that unfolds. But One Punch Man is just so juicy to me. I love the world. I love its whimsical, wacky characters, and it is so full of spectacle. The fights are extraordinary in a beautiful manga. And I even really like in One's webcomic the way that he portrays things in there. I love everything about One Punch Man. It is a beautiful manga that I can't help but sink my teeth into, even knowing full well it will spoil what comes up in the anime. I can't resist. And like I said, it's very uncharacteristic of me to do that. Typically the manga I read is on things that don't have real anime adaptations, like Berserk. Lord help us, it is so sad. Bit of a tangent. Berserk is an actual masterpiece of a series, which I'm sure all of you have heard before. People gushing grannies over Berserk for a good reason. It is a sin that it doesn't get a true, real anime adaptation past what they already did in the 90s. What happened in 2016, which we don't need to reopen old wounds there, but I don't want to get too lost in the sauce. Point is, I don't typically read manga for things that have an anime. One Punch Man is the exception because I absolutely love the characters and the world there. Anyway though, One Punch Man Season 1 I think is one of the best seasons of anime ever produced. And throughout streams people will often ask, I've never checked out anime, what should I start with? And like clockwork, I will always recommend One Punch Man Season 1 as an entry point to the medium. I think it is just so well done. From its pacing to its beautiful, breathtaking animation, unbelievable animation, the fights are incredible, but also just the character work is executed so well in Season 1. It is extremely good. It is extraordinary. And Season 2 rolled around, and it was a bit of a wet fart. That one was very disappointing to me, and I know a lot of people don't like my take on it, but I mean, it's how I feel about it. I think it is just such a huge step down, not only in the obvious decline in animation quality, it's a different studio, it's JC staff that took it over, which doesn't typically do something like One Punch Man, and they did not a great job. Season 2 did not have the greatest animation. It was no longer fluid, it had some really wonky CG in there, and it just wasn't as great as Season 1. It still had its moments because the characters are just so well done, like from the source material, it's hard to fuck that up, but man did they try. It was still a fine season, but just such a huge step back. So when it was announced that Season 3 of One Punch Man was once again going to be that same studio, I was immediately sad, but I tried to remain optimistic that maybe this time, given more time to cook, they could deliver something better. And now that we're 2 episodes in, they're delivering something even worse. It is actually even worse. Season 2 got dubbed by the fans One Frame Man because there's so little animation. A lot of the times you're watching still images, basically just manga panels and a PowerPoint. Season 3 is even worse so far. I shit you not, in the latest episode, episode 2, there is 2 separate scenes where it is a still image with the slowest panning camera imaginable. I actually thought my TV froze. And it goes on for like 20 seconds. Like it lingers for 20 seconds on just a still frame and some like narrator dialogue. And it's just inexcusable. How can something as good as the One Punch Man property get this treatment? It's incomprehensible to me. It's just insulting, especially considering some of like the most slop trash manga is getting beautiful anime adaptations. Like these actual nothing burger properties you've never heard of that are just actual garbage, bottom of the barrel slop. Like last winter the Wizard Lord transmogrified me into a paperclip and whisked me away to Vampireville, where all of these vampire babes shoved me up their ass and tasked me with defeating the Demon Lord. And it's like, who even knows what that is? And then the anime rolls out and it's breathtaking. Like, why does that kind of garbage get that kind of passionate studio treatment, but something like One Punch Man, beloved, gets JC staff spitting in our face? I don't understand it. Now, I want to mention, I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I just don't think this is the kind of studio that can do One Punch Man justice. They already proved they couldn't with Season 2, yet they're hopping back on the saddle again with Season 3 just to prove people even more right that they just can't do it. So why did they even get this work again? It doesn't make sense. These 2 episodes have been abominable. Like, they are not good. Even outside of the obvious lack of animation, if you watch Season 3 of One Punch Man, you've probably noticed that there's pretty much no movement happening in this show. To call it an animation is being really loosey-goosey with the term. You're looking at pictures mainly, with dialogue. You're not really seeing anything move. Now, in the last episode here, at the very end, it's gearing up for a fight. And there is a little bit of movement at the very end there. Which is why I'm making this video now, because I believe that in the next episode it's going to follow the Season 2 formula where that fight is mainly going to be impact frames and camera pan, but not actual action or animation. But I'm really, really praying, fingers crossed, I am wrong with that. In this episode, I shit you not, there is even a scene where Garo, when he's going down a hill to break up these bullies from picking on this kid, they didn't bother to animate anything there. So to have him go down the hill, they took Garo, that still image of Garo, and just moved it down. Literally panned him down with no animation at all. It is so janky. It is so gross looking. Now, I've read a lot of conflicting things about why this is in the state that it is. Apparently, like, there was a bunch of back and forth on who was going to get Season 3, and it ultimately ended up in the hands of JC staff, but it took like a prolonged period of time, so they didn't have a lot of time to get in the laboratory and work on something of high quality here, so this is what they shat out. I don't really think that's an excuse, to be honest. Like, something needs to change in that case, where scheduling is better, or like extend the deadline, instead of just like pump out whatever just to, you know, slap it on screen and ship it, when it's clearly not in a state for that. This looks so undercooked. It is just half-baked. And to be honest, at this point, I'm not even sure if my anger is misplaced on JC staff, or if it really is just like Bandai refusing to invest real money behind this project because maybe they're just so content with mediocrity. They know this IP is so popular, people will watch it no matter what. So what's the point in delivering something special? Like, I think that's equally possible as well. Like, maybe they're more to blame than JC staff. Like, maybe they just weren't given enough time or enough resources to make something good. I'm not really sure, but it is just tragic. And I don't think Season 3 is going to get better. I actually think it's only going to get worse with the fights based on these first 2 episodes. But again, I'm making this video hoping that I'm wrong, and it could be something that we look back on and be like, wow, Charlie's no Baba Vanga here. Look at this prediction being super fucking wrong. Well, in that case, it'd make me exactly like Baba Vanga, to be honest. But point is, I'm hoping that all of this is just water under the bridge over the next few weeks as Season 3 of One Punch Man continues, and maybe it gets incredible and it just goes ballistic. Maybe they just wanted the first 2 episodes to look like shit as part of a, you know, galaxy brain plot to make people think it's going to be a bad season, but really it's going to be the best season. It's hard copium from me here, but whatever. What happened to the show I love, man? To see where One Punch Man Season 1 was to where this is now, a decade later. It's been a decade, by the way, and this is only the 3rd season, and it looks this bad. It's just infuriating. It really is. Anyway, though, can't wait for episode 3 here of One Punch Man Season 3. Maybe that's the one where it's gonna really get it together. That's when it all comes together. Anyway, just wanted to yap about this. That's it. See ya.